Welcome to The Shield Within. The issues discussed on the Shield Within podcast do not reflect the opinions of any specific agency. They are the views of the host and the guest. Any persons discussed may be fictional for comedic purposes only. This podcast is rated explicit and listener discretion is advised. Listening to The Shield Within may trigger repressed or suppressed memories or experiences. Please contact a mental health professional at your earliest convenience. It's time for the chaos to cease.
Time to open yourself to peace.
From the hours you've put in.
To the next shift you begin.
From the endless pursuit of release.
That finds the worst unleashed.
Transform the ugly into a win.
Get to know your shield within.
Welcome to the Shield Within.
Good evening.
I'm your host, Marc the Cop, and the good-looking devil to my right is Dr. David. You are all in for a treat this evening. We have the man, the one, the only, FD Donnie.
Good evening.
And, like golf applause, Mr. Hat.
We're super excited.
Mr. Hat is with us as well.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. Mr. Hat's here. So everyone's thinking right now, what do we owe the pleasures? We're like, you know what? Marc the Cop had to come home from his fortress of solitude in Florida because
it was too sunny. That's why.
Yeah,
too sunny,
too sunny, too warm, too many fucking old people. So I thought I'd come home and hang out with a bunch of old people up here. Hey, calm down over there, Donnie. He's jerking the mic stand around. You can unfurl that if you like, there, sir. What was that you say? It looked like an outing from the
assisted living
facility when Kelly was here. It's pretty funny. So hey, you know what? If you're into Facebook, stop by our Facebook page, please. Facebook / The Shield Within. Like and share our goofy posts I put up there every day. I am your webmaster, so I'm the guy that does that. Speaking of the web, if you want to go to their static standalone website or stagnant standalone websites, theshieldwithin.com. You get to see Dr. David and I in our very first inaugural show where Fathead Joel came in here and took some pictures of us. That's theshieldwithin.com. If you are in need and you want to talk to the master, Yoda, you can go to lessonslearnedcoaching.com and Dr. David can unfuck your life for you. Sorry. Simply put. I probably should say it like that, right?
It's that easy.
But yeah, it's just that easy. So when life gets to be too much, give Dr. David a call. So thank you all for being here this evening. And most of all, thank you to our listeners. We are in our third show of our, well, I don't know what show this is. Whatever number Donnie throws on it. And when you get to listen to us, this is the episode that it is. But we're in season 2. Mm-hmm. I'm honored and humbled that all of you are listening. We are growing by leaps and bounds. I send these guys our demographics every week. Mm-hmm. We're in 5 countries, and we're getting new listeners every day. And I'm humbled and honored that each and every one of you are checking out The Shield Within. So if you could, if you listen to us on Apple, if you could reach out and give us a little review, if we helped you, and hit that 5. And please subscribe. Why should we subscribe, Marc the Cop? Because someday, if that big advertiser wants to start paying us, it helps out. And a lot of times when I'm asked if I'm trying to get guests on, they're like, well, how many listeners you get? How many downloads you get? And, I can say, well, we have so many subscriptions, so many downloads per week, per month. And we're growing just leaps and bounds. And thank you, Donnie, for your hard work. At the time of this recording, we have the our mashup with the Roll Call Room podcast. So get out there, check out the Roll Call Room. My friend Nick Ruggiero, our friend, we're doing really great work together. Had just a great time with him in the month of February. So check out episodes 21 and 22 if you want to hear Nick, or stop by his show. He is also an officer wellness show. We were inspired by that when we got started. So let's get into it. So recently in the news, there has been a huge story about a small Tennessee police department and the fact that the chief walked in one day and fired half the department. Why, you may ask, is because 5 of them were all involved sexually. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
And had been going on quite a while. Everyone's married. And I think the chief, rightly so, because I don't believe Tennessee is a union state. I believe they're a right-to-work state. So, if you do something outrageous like that, you can be fired. And right now, the memes are just killer. And every day I see them, oh my gosh. See, we're all laughing. And this is what I want. You start laughing because they are fucking hilarious. Because cops and firefighters, we all sit around and think of goofy shit like this, right? So it's like, how did we get here? I mean, really, how did we get here? Mm-hmm. And it's fun to poke fun at them, and it's fun to, the the inventive memes are just hilarious, and trust me, they are fun. But where I was looking at it and I started the other night. My daughter was speaking to her, and she says, Dad, that female officer is a human, and even though she wasn't making the best choices, she still doesn't deserve this. Mm-hmm. She said, how would you like to be mocked? And she said, you were mocked and ridiculed during your event, and you were ready to kill yourself. Mm-hmm. Now magnify that times 10.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And what about the dudes?
Yeah. It's easily to focus on the chick because she's centrally involved with all of them. But it's all the way it always works, man. The chick always gets the heat. The dudes walk. This time, doesn't sound like that's going to happen.
No.
If I'm adding all the numbers up, and some of the news reports are not as detailed as others, but I think it was like a force of 11 people, and it ended up with 8 of the 11 were involved in this.
Yeah.
So,
it's like, what? Anyway, go on.
It's mind-boggling. And then, as I understood it, a number, at least one, if not more, of the people involved their spouses were invited to be a part of the good time. So, yeah, they are all going to go bye-bye. I guess they're going to have to start over in that department. And there was a description in one report I read of the assistant chief in the department, the number 2 person out of 11, has a boat, a nice boat. And apparently they were using the boat for parties.
Oh, my.
And that included, tops off and chick opening mouth and or alcohol being poured straight down her throat. And yet the number 2 guy, got no responsibility for that shit.
While they're out on his boat.
Your boat.
Right. Somebody obviously isn't appreciating what their role is. And I also saw there was 2 sergeants.
Yes.
2 sergeants involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what this did for all of us here sitting at this table was it touched a common ground point. True?
Oh, it did for me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The way I experienced...
I didn't hear anything from you there, big man.
I said, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you just say it like, yeah, man. That was me. Yeah. Loud and proud like you're in the back of church there, boy.
Hold on a minute.
Donnie has to take a drink. Donnie's got his FM DJ voice going tonight, doesn't he? Wasn't like he was up in Moeller the other night. And we got another bingo. Slingo.
Whatever it is. Yes. Good evening and welcome.
Well, what it touched for me initially was it made me sad. And it didn't make me sad for the people involved who got fired. It made me sad because it made me think instantly of the gazillion adults I saw in my career who were having an affair.
I was one of them.
And yes, and it's easy to say, gosh, these people are all working in the same department. They're all cops. It must have some. No. Infidelity is going on everywhere, every day with everybody. I swear to God. It's so rampant at any point in time. It stunned me relentlessly. Guys, you just had an affair? You just had an... Yeah, my wife told me... Wow. Okay. So I have to look at it from a really broad picture. Infidelity in general, first, and then infidelity in this particular context second, because what it also did was made me remember Kelly's input from her episode.
Ooh, those were very insightful.
Yes.
Which one are you speaking of?
Well, two.
Because I was quoting her today. I was speaking to a colleague, so go ahead.
I can dig it. Her first point that it connected for me was, and obviously, there were indications in the articles that I read that this woman had, on an occasion with multiple witnesses around, taken out her gun, unloaded all the ammunition from the gun, and pointed it at her head.
Oh, my.
And pulled the trigger to see what it would sound like. So,
and nobody said, hey.
Something needs to happen for her.
Yes.
That's a warning sign, maybe?
Yes.
That what we're
I'm
talking
thinking,
about?
yeah.
Red flag? Yeah.
I think in the police world, that there is a clue.
Evidence.
Yes.
So I felt sad for her, and I thought of Kelly's story of being raised in an environment where there's ongoing violence.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a client that I'm working with, and I worked with today, whose parents are in a long-term invested war with each other. And
wow.
They are
long-term invested war. Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Okay.
They
AKA
love
marriage.
the
Right.
violence.
AKA marriage. Yeah.
They love the violence. They love the conflict. They love the chaos that it creates and surrounds them with. They're both very bright people. I know one of them, it messes you up, man. So Kelly started her career, and I'm looking at this chick's picture, and it's in the paper, and I'm thinking, what did you walk into the academy with? What was walking around inside your head, your heart, your soul, when you decided to become a cop? And I had a contact with one of my folks who was an active duty police officer at the time. I imagine she still is. And the very first thing she told me about wasn't the on-the-job trauma. It was all the shit that happened to her when she was a little kid. All sexual victimization, all a story I heard 1,000 times. So when you come into being a law enforcement person or a fire department person or an ER nurse or a EMT, paramedic, any of these jobs with guaranteed trauma in it, and you walk into it with a whole lot of unresolved shit to begin with, man, you're setting yourself up, your community, your department, your coworkers, mostly yourself, to have a really bad time. So that leads me to kind of how I look at infidelity when I heard it in my office all those years. I saw it as a 3-phase thing. One, how did the relationship develop? From really concrete first step to where we are at the point where the person's interacting with me. Secondly, what maintained the infidelity? And then third, what are the ways to get out of it? So I kind of wanted to start on the first part first, and you all get as honest and open as you feel comfortable doing. Because I've heard a lot of different stories about how this shit starts. So, in my mind, in this situation and in many others, somebody's flirty.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's suggestive. Somebody's implying something, hinting at something. And then there's this pattern of flirty and suggestive comments. And so for each of you, if you can, and if you can't, talk about it in as general terms as you feel comfortable talking. How did infidelity start?
Oh, I'll go first.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Marc the Cop, and I'm an infidelator. No, I'm kidding. I'm a whore. No, I'm not. I'm actually a recovered whore. The first time was in 2005, and we had a part-time clerk, and it's just pretty and flirty, and and became friends because you're working together. You know,
Right,
she was married, I'm married, blah blah blah.
Right.
And you know, one day you just you sit there and you chat. Hey, you know, you start looking forward to them coming into work. You know what I mean? And enjoying the conversations that you're having with them, and next thing you know, you're kind of striking some common ground, and you know, and in the beginning, you know, of course, my wife would come in and like, oh, hey, how you doing? And you know, they were friends as well. And as a matter of fact, at the time, she was pregnant, and you know, she's like, oh, I'm crazy. I said, we're going to Bob Evans tonight. She's like, oh God, and I've been craving their peanut butter pie forever, so I got her a piece of pie. And she's like, well, I went and dropped that off because my wife could buy it and she went on home, right? So that was kind of where I noticed that I started thinking of her outside the realm.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I started developing that something a little more than friendship. Mm-hmm. And me, how I am, was like, you know, I need to address this. Mm-hmm. You know, how is this coming along? Mm-hmm. You know, then she's like, oh no, you're in my fucking head. So that's how it started developing.
So you said something to her directly.
Yeah, I am kind of like a paradigm of, number one, you know, I'm either extreme a big pussy and won't say anything to anybody, or I'm very direct. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know, when I was growing up, I was never taught anything about relationships. Mm-hmm. I didn't go to my proms. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, I'm basically scared of women because, you know, the expectation was, will you fuck at prom? You know, I'm like, well, I don't know how to fuck. I've never been laid before in my life, you know. I just don't want to be put in that position of embarrassment. That's why, you know, that's why I don't do threesomes. You know, what's the rules? You know, so it's like.
That's why. You've told Jeff and I totally different.
That's not what you said about 10 minutes ago.
Right.
So, Jeff, remember the safe word? What did he
Armageddon.
tell you?
He had
Armageddon.
that look in his eye.
Exactly. So, see, I threw humor in there to avoid difficult feelings. That's why I'm doing there. So yeah, go back to go to safe zone, safe place.
Yeah.
Nah, we're not doing EMDR. So anyway, you know, yeah, I went in and I confronted this, and I'm like, look, I'm sorry. The intention was to say, I'm infatuated with. I'm becoming infatuated with you, and you know, I need to change because I'm married and I love my wife and I love my family, and you know, I was really struggling with that. And then she was like, yeah, I'm kind of having the same thing going on.
You weren't expecting that.
Not at all. Not at all. I was expecting the, you know, like most women, I like you like a friend. I got this built-in self-defense, you know, hot chicks don't dig me. So, I'm kidding.
Right.
Yeah, you see I'm doing it again, right? But, you know, when she said that she was having the same feelings, it's totally, oh, well.
Surprise.
Well. Now what do we do?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now what do we do? So, you know, my marriage at the time, you know, we were just on two different paths. And what I didn't realize was the path that we were on. It was that we were basically just living together. And my wife and I had talked about why we were where we were. I'm not going to go there because she's involved in that story too. So sure. I didn't talk about that half right there. So I'm not going to divulge it. But we were in a, I don't want to say a marriage of convenience, but we were just living together for the kids. Mm-hmm. It was a sexless marriage.
More of a roommate.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was it. I mean, she's like, you want me home? I'm fucking home. And that's it. Okay. And I was basically done at that point.
Yeah. And
she was feeling the same way about her hubby. And, they left one night, the wife and the kids went over for an event, and, they were going to be gone all night. So, I just threw it out there. Hey. I mean, because she lived around the same area I did. And I said, well, you want to stop by on the way home? Stop on by. She's like, yeah.
An invitation.
Well, absolutely. Threw it right out there. And she's like, yeah, it's not going to happen. Okay, cool. And I left. And that's what I thought. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching television. And all of a sudden I hear a car pull up. I look at the window and went, oh, fuck. She's here.
Surprising.
Oh my God. And yeah.
And that was that.
And yeah. So in for a penny, in for a pound.
So started with very small behaviors, very small communications that became a pattern.
Correct.
The pattern then led to your thinking.
Oh,
you
yes.
started thinking about her a lot.
Yes.
You started imagining physical contact with her.
Yes.
You started realizing your heart was involved. You were in infatuation. That means to me that there's some kind of emotion was involved in it.
See, and I know where you're going with this is I'm not the type of guy that's going to go out and run a dick up in somebody I just met in a bar. I know that sounds outrageous, but that's just not me. And I have to have that contact, right?
Yeah, you have to have a connection.
Yeah, exactly.
To make that connection,
right? I mean, the joke was, they make rubber dolls to fuck. But to me, I'm not that person.
Yeah.
Donnie maybe, but that's not me.
Me or the rubber doll?
Don't fuck with me, man. Sorry, David. You have us all upset.
That's good.
We're going to show you how this got started.
Yeah, 2 sergeants and a captain walk into a room. The therapist says,
"Drink up."
Drink
The
up.
therapist says, "Take out your checkbook."
Yeah.
So, for Mr. Hatt and FD Donnie, do you feel comfortable sharing how it developed for the two of you?
I think I'll take a step back and say, did you?
If you did.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was more of started off as a connection via talking back and forth about problems at home.
Okay.
Like, hey, I'm having this problem. Weird, she's having the same type of problem. And, you talk back and forth, and then all of a sudden now, it's like, I can't believe that piece of shit's saying this about you, And then things start progressing, and it's where it got to.
And so similarly, it starts off with a pattern of very small communications that are suggestive. They hint at something more. Like, I've got an old Ted Lasso. Smells like potential. Yeah. And that's what it smelled like. Hand gestures are being made as we speak.
That's right. That's why we need video. Talk to the guy in the studio about that.
And then an invitation gets issued. Somebody invites somebody else to something that would include the opportunity for physical intimacy. And kind of like then there's the expectation that it's going to happen. Okay. All right.
The discussion leading up to that point, yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked about it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of we did too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Hatt?
All right. Here we go.
Are you in?
So, for me,
Good, bro.
a lot like Donnie said, is the communication. We had and let me just preface it, if that's the right word.
Good.
But I'm in the point of my life now where I'm dealing with all that shame and guilt, and I'm in stage 1 of complete, total recovery and mental health reboot, if that makes sense. So this is actually probably pretty good for me.
This is a large turn in the road for you.
Yes. So we had a critical event that I responded to. It was actually a shooting with a suspect death.
Okay.
Officer involved, and wasn't involved in the actual situation, but as supervisors, we responded. And this is kind of the first, we've been through a lot of critical incidents, deaths and crashes and shit like that, and officers injured and stuff like that, but taking a life in a violent way. The officer was somewhat attacked with a knife, and his radio traffic and everything just doesn't affect the couple officers that were there. It affects everybody on the radio, everybody on the scanner, shit like that.
Exactly.
As the empathetic person that I am, or am,
yeah.
And knowing that, I was tasked to, hey, we didn't really have all these, let's follow up, let's get together and talk it out and stuff like that.
Right.
So, hey, why don't you, Mr. Hatt, call people and just start talking to them. This before we had a crisis intervention team and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and I did, and happily to do so. And I would call this person like, hey, you need anything? What's going on? Are you feeling okay? Blah, blah, blah. Well, then there was one particular person who I'd known for years and stuff like that, and it just started in that small conversation. And there were some struggles there, and rightfully so. The actual dispatcher that took the call, like, officer in trouble, shots fired, blah, 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 you know.
The worst call you're ever going to get.
And I'm not justifying anything. I'm not, but I really kind of didn't see the buildup in that.
Yeah.
And it became, well, I'll call you tomorrow, and then I'll call you later, or I'll call you this afternoon. And then a friendship developed through that.
Right.
And I continued it and kept it secret, kept it quiet, because, and my bright wisdom, like, my wife's never going to understand this. This is bull, fuck her, kind of. I mean, that was my stupid thought process at the time, which, I mean, I knew there was something probably, it was getting to a point where it's probably maybe unhealthy and wrong, certainly wrong, but I didn't stop it. And I kind of couldn't, or didn't want to, I guess, at the time, want to.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I mean, I was like 100% sure. I was, I had I guess a mental or emotional affair, I guess, which is just as bad. I put my wife aside, and who I love dearly, who I love my children. They were all a little bit. This is years ago. So, yeah. So that was, but it all starts with that kind of. I never set out to do anything or do anything wrong or do anything harmful, and then before you know it, it's like you look back, and I mean, it's almost a blur. I get asked, what were you thinking, or why did you this? Why? And I honestly, like, I don't fucking have an idea. I don't have no fucking idea why.
Yeah.
I mean,
how did we get here?
Right.
Yeah.
And you fast forward through now, learning, and I'm developing. I'm starting to go through puberty. I think starting to develop and
well put.
Come to
balls
like,
are dropping again.
Why do I do shit like this? And actually understanding. And I'll just say real quick that for people listening. Like, I've been to therapy for years and years, off and on, but I wasn't in the mindset. And Dr. Dave here, over the last, I don't know, maybe just under 2 years now, we've been talking, and that's what has got me on the path of, and I maybe wasn't quite ready to hear, because your therapy and a therapist, or, it's different. I used you to just to get through this week, and I can get to next week. And I've learned a shit ton of stuff that I still use today that we've talked. And, but that's got me where today, like my therapy and shit today, I go to a therapist now at least once a week, if not twice a week.
Awesome.
That I'm seeing like, you're a dumb motherfucker. Cause it's this, it's childhood, it's adulthood, it's adolescence.
It all comes together.
Yeah, fucking comp, it's here. And this group of three right here, I will just say on record, my safety zone. You're in your safe space. You got to have 3 people, 3 or 4 people that you can talk to, and I know these 3. Yeah, that's why I'm sitting here today. So,
well, we're glad to have you here, and thanks for your.
That's a quick look. Sorry, I didn't mean to take over on that. But.
No, you're not taking over at all. It's how do we get into these situations, and the whole purpose of the Shield Within. When David and I were talking 3 years ago now in Clearwater, Florida. We are 3 different guys. We've all worked together, but we all have our own struggles and we all have our own story. And the purpose of the Shield Within isn't to uncover that, but I felt so strongly about this recent news story. And we talked as a group, but then David and I talked one-on-one, and I said, dude, take the fucking gloves off, because I'm willing to bare my soul. And I applaud both of you for coming in and owning this.
I don't know if I've ever said that out loud. I mean, I think I've told David this, but
well, good for you, bro. Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, because
it does feel good.
Well, it does.
Like I fucked up. I know it. It's going to be many years to recoup all that. But I'm putting the foot forward, and I'm doing the hard work.
Living the now.
It's hard as fuck. It's the hardest thing. It's the worst thing I've ever done. But I've committed to. Tomorrow is a good day to start over.
Can we all agree that doing the work sucks?
Oh, it's terrible.
God, does it?
Terrible.
So the work does suck, but let me tell you what sucks even worse.
Right.
Is living the shadow life.
Right. Yep.
I lived a shadow life for 4 years, and it's horrible. I left my wife. She ended up moving to Florida. I bought this house and still lived in the shadows because and I went under an investigation, criminal, and then internal, and then civil. So it's like what Molly Hall said, my psychiatrist, is that Mark, you're a testament of survival. She's really surprised I didn't kill myself.
Yeah.
She said, of anybody around, you are a testament to that. And I'm like, I think that's good.
Right.
But the suicide ideology was horrible, and thank God for Dr. David.
Yeah.
And Miss Jo Terry and the Chip Terry Fund. Dig deep in your pockets, go to the chipterryfund.org and hit the donate button and donate what you can, because that saves lives. And I was the gracious and humble recipient of a grant from the fund of a stellate ganglion block, and my friend near to the right was a witness to all of it. And getting here, and I was talking with a person who right now is in a very dark spot, and I said, brother, I'm sorry, you're at the bottom of the mountain and you're looking up into that mist. You can't see the top and you don't know what's coming at you, but you need to fight and you need to climb. And through my own doing, through living my shadow life, seeing this person on the side, she got divorced, I didn't. My kids knew we were dating, but I was like, no. And people at work suspected we were dating, but we were like, no, we're just friends, fucking buddies. I ended that relationship. We ended it, however you want to say it. There's no winner or loser. It's just, It just ended.
Yeah.
And my metaphor used to be the light at the end of the tunnel was a fucking freight train coming at me, because for so long that was true.
Right.
And I can honestly say, as of the time of this recording, the last 4 years is a fucking blur, because I don't remember anything. I don't remember what I did last year for Christmas. My daughter had to tell me, oh, you came to Oregon. Oh, yeah, I did, didn't I? I don't remember what I did for Thanksgiving, because I didn't spend it with the woman that I was seeing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was just a blur. It was a shell of an empty life. And now
took that just the other day.
Yeah, there you go.
Looking down the
tunnel. Looking down the tunnel. Jeff's showing us some scenes.
Perfect.
But now I'm on the other side of the mountain. I'm on the sunny side of the mountain. And that's one thing we would like to do here on the Shield Within, is to talk about the recovery side. And I can tell you today, without the work that I've done, the sucky work that I've done, I couldn't sit here and talk about this.
No.
It would upset too many people. I can tell you, my family listening to this will probably, I hope they're not upset. I hope they see the therapeutic side of this as me owning my bad behavior, and me looking in the mirror knowing that I'm lying to my family and my kids, and looking at that guy in the mirror thinking, I fucking hate you, dude. Why are you doing that?
That's the first thing that I thought of what happened so often when somebody would, like a woman would come in. She's depressed. Well, I have my practice. She's depressed. She's got a lot of problems, 1 through 6. And she tells me that her husband she just has learned her husband's had an affair. And
come on, man, you're fucking up Dave's mojo.
And she looks at me and she asks me, what is wrong with a man or any woman or person that would commit themselves to a marriage and be with someone and raise kids with them, and what's wrong with inside that person that would let them have an affair? So I thought, all right, for those of you who have had an affair, and I'm thinking there's more than 2 or 3 people listening to this right now who've had an affair,
right,
are having an affair right now, or thinking about having an affair a lot. So I kind of think of this as like a universal thing. Everybody can relate to this. So, like, is there something inside of you that you think was missing at the time you started to be unfaithful? Was there something in here?
Yeah, I can answer that for me, and I'm absolutely let FD and Mr. Hat talk. But for me, yes, at the time of my first one, because I raised Catholic. You don't get fucking divorced. You work it out.
That's right. That's right.
And I hadn't felt like that in a long time. The way I was feeling, and it felt good.
Yeah.
Where I made the mistake was I should have went home, and as soon as I started feeling that, and she reiterated, hey, this is cool, I should have went home and just pulled the plug.
Yeah.
Look, we're just living together for the kids. The kids will understand. Let's just go ahead and end this now.
Yeah.
And then go forward.
Right.
But being the materialistic 80s boy that I was, I looked at, I have a big house, I got a beautiful car, and I got a good job, and I don't want to split this shit with you, man. I want to keep it all. So my decision was, and she had indicated that she wasn't really interested in ending her marriage either.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, well, let's just do this for a while. Two people get together and make one another feel good. Okay, well, somehow in your mind that makes sense when you get caught up in your head, and it's kind of like, when I was isolated out here during my time on administrative leave, you get in your head, and shit you start convincing yourself of stuff and how this is a good idea, but it isn't. It's a horrible idea. So that's where you need to get out and talk to people and have trusted friends. I mean, trusted friends, not somebody you just met on the street or that knucklehead at work says, hey, buddy, you need to get off your chest, call me. Yeah, no. But talk it out.
Right.
And talking out with people that's sane, not sane people that are like what I was. And I found that I was associating with people who also normalized affairs.
Yes.
And that is just so fucked up.
Yes.
So finally got up into the headspace and to where it was normalizing, and there was a piece of me that was missing, and there was a piece of the relationship that was missing, and at that time when that one happened,
inside you didn't feel loved.
No, not at all.
Was that similar for the two of you? In here, agreed. You didn't feel loved.
I don't think so much for me.
Not so much for you.
Yeah.
What do you think was missing for you?
I know it was there, David, but maybe I didn't see it, or, where, you're running with kids, and, our kids were younger, and you just have that lifestyle of just running and going and eating dinner in your minivan as you're going to practice and shit like that.
Right.
Full-time job for me, full-time job for her, twice as full-time job with the kids, and maybe I just lost that connection or something, but it was there. When I look back, I'm not saying that it wasn't there from her end to that degree. It's just that we just kind of got comfortable with it or something, or if that makes sense.
Would it be accurate to say you'd lost touch with what was most important?
Yeah.
That what was missing was your connection to what was most important in your life.
And this is what I'm learning, like, in the last few weeks. I mean, you asked me this a month ago, I'd have been like, that fucking bitch, or, whatever. Right. I'd have justified my feelings on it the way I see it. Like, well, yeah, she didn't love me as much. But now that I'm putting some of this fucked up work in, and realizing, it's owning it. That's right.
Mr.
Ownership, and and I certainly have a problem with that, or have had a problem with that for sure, for my sense of it. But yeah, I think it was. I lost it, didn't see it, or didn't feel it, but it was there, which is kind of crazy.
But it happens to lots of adults.
Yeah.
They get wrapped up in work. They get wrapped up in money, paying bills, getting money socked away for the kids' college education, and you lose touch with each other. And I think
Amen.
Before what happens then, I think the thing that happens before all that shit happens is you lose track with yourself. You lose touch with what's important to you.
Yeah.
And so then you lose touch with.
Well, I've lost all my identity over the years. Like
Yes.
I was a number,
Yes.
you know, at my old job, and I was a good number. I mean, it was pretty fucked up. Like people were like, "Fuck yeah, dude,
Yeah.
228, come on." You know, fucking A. But then as soon as I leave, and I'm not saying, I don't think it was my identity, but it was just somewhere where you're like, all right, I'm somebody here kind of thing. I'm like big man on campus.
Yeah.
I was kind of a big deal,
Yeah.
you know?
He was.
And and I was a big deal to my family, but it wasn't that same, you know, high five and like, hey, good work last week, good month.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
good way to get all that activity. Wrote a lot of fucking tickets, you dick. You know,
Great paycheck, Dad.
Right.
Right.
All right, let's get in the car. Let's go to practice and shit like that. You know, and it's like I don't know.
Well, I remember what Nick was talking about, that when he got to the job that he's in now, he felt valued.
Yes.
And that really struck. I love that frame of reference. It really struck me that
We all look like a bobbleheads. We can get a bunch of bobbleheads every day.
But Donnie's like,
Yeah, Donnie's throating the mic, but yes, David.
Chicken guy.
so like in your kind of like you lost value to yourself.
yeah, for sure.
And the things that follow after that are you lose connection with the things that you value around
Well,
you.
yeah, who are you going to blame? You're going to blame your spouse. You're going to blame your kids, or you know, whatever.
The dweeb in the mirror, you can't blame that guy.
Yeah.
So
I don't even look in the mirror anymore.
yeah,
And we can tell.
scary.
Yeah. Next time my hair is going to be as long as David's. Maybe not as white, but this is what giving up looks like.
Now I'm going to touch on this one part, and then we're going to get in. I want to get into the whole therapy, like solution part of it.
All right,
Which
all right.
I very much want to get into. The maintenance part, we can fly by that one. But like I'm thinking, for each of you, do you look back and wonder, was the attraction to risk part of why you got into law enforcement, first responders in the first place? The attraction to risk.
No.
Joe said you get most people in law enforcement do so to help people.
Yes.
When Kelly's talked, she talked about the reason you will go through academy is so that you can drive fast and shoot your gun.
Fuck yeah.
Wow, man. That's perks of the job.
That's what I told Mark a couple of hours ago. I'm like, dude,
Yeah, we were just talking
I really
about
fucking
that.
miss going fast, man. Those fucking Dodge Hemis, man.
All right, so I'll put this up on our social media. So I sent a little video out to the guys the other day. I have my Cruiser, my 2011 Crown Vic, my beloved 2011 Crown Vic. So I took it out and I drove it the other day. So I'm just easing up the road a little bit, and I just eased up the road a little more, and I thought, oh, I'm doing 105 now. So what should everybody do? Is
Videoing this.
take a video. So shot a video, and I said, well, what good's a Crown Vic if you aren't pushing 100? And I showed the speedometer, and I eased right up to the open left lane in front of me. So I thought these guys would get a kick out of that. So
we did. Yeah.
and they're like, you're exceeding the posted speed limits, sir. And I said, well, yeah, but
But yeah, it's that fucking adrenaline, like
well,
that
but
shit.
and that's what we're talking about today. Is
Fuck
that
helping
you
people.
get to run fast,
Exactly.
and that's what Jeff and I were talking about. Working the interstate, because you got to get on it, Mel. And take the car up to 105, 106, and run your violator down and take them to the side of the roadway and all that stuff like that. Fireside, of course, you're driving,
38 miles an hour.
Well, yeah, a truck
pedal
that's
down.
After we wake up.
Pedal down to the middle.
Yeah, you got to wake up, get the
wake
sleep
up
out of your
first.
eyes, and get dressed, and then
Wait till dinner's over.
drive a horribly overweight truck with minimal brakes to a scene. So I guess the adrenaline rush. No, their adrenaline rush is like, look at this. See this 6-inch water hose? I'm gonna blow
look
this
at
shit
that.
all over your stuff. Hey, Mal, beat them windows out. Okay. Now get up there and cut a big hole in the roof. Now blow more water in there. And what do? Thanks, buddy.
Why do we got to chop this down? Because we can.
We love you,
guys
Donnie.
just got jealous.
Have you ever seen why didn't somebody put a C-spine on it?
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, the mechanism of
Mechanism
injury.
of injury, yeah.
But we love FD, Donnie.
Good.
Yes, we did. We love that.
To get back to your question.
What was the question?
Yes.
Got into law. We've all got into the disciplines we're into is to help.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we did is to help our fellow man.
But you can drive fast to get to the help.
Right.
Gotcha. Now, once you're into you're being unfaithful, you're into an infidelity. It's lasting a while now. A number of elements are continuing to make it happen. And then, at some point, and maybe every point along the way, it occurs to you that maybe you might not want to keep this pattern of behavior going on. So, I'd like you to each think about how the pattern of behavior ended for you. First of all, like what inside, as Mark has talked, what inside had to change, had to grow, had to be different, that got you, something got you in. Well, what had to be different to get you out? What had to be different to make you go, no, to pull the plug, as Mark said, to go home and say, this is not a direction I can allow my life to go in anymore.
Who do you want to start? You want to start?
That's Donnie's start.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, go right ahead there, FD.
One, I would be getting caught, obviously.
Getting caught.
Yeah, that definitely.
That's what ended my first one.
Yeah, kind of throws a wrench in the system.
Ditto.
Now, in thinking about that, did you possibly arrange that in some fashion? Did you contribute to the exposure in some way?
I contributed by not hiding a damn thing at that time. I mean, my vehicle's there. I mean, it's straight up. Here it is. You know it.
Gotcha.
And you know that kind of, that was a good portion of it. And then you have that person, you look in the mirror every day afterwards, and you sit there and you ask yourself, you know, what the fuck, you know, why? And then, you know, you look at your family, you look at your kids, and you try to figure out again, what the fuck,
Yeah.
you know. So that's kind of where, for me, it was basically going down to getting caught, I guess, if you will.
Did getting caught make you sad?
Suicidal, yes. Sad, no.
Suicidal energy, thoughts?
Oh, there was just like, fuck this, I'm done. Numerous times.
Angry?
At yourself.
At yourself.
Yeah, it's like, it's...
Giving up?
Yeah.
On yourself?
All the way.
The conclusions in your head had to be something similar to, I'm never going to be good enough.
Yeah. And then my daughter even wrote me a letter stating everything, so.
Cut to the heart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that definitely cuts.
It stopped you. And so how did you tell the woman you were being unfaithful with that you were going to no longer be doing this?
Straight up. Pushed away for a while, you know, like, fuck this, fuck that, you know.
Right.
Start pushing you away, and then it just got to the point like, stop.
Right.
Nix it. MTC and I have had a few conversations where you got to block the number. I mean, you got to do things, because if not, you have to set your guard high.
Yes. Very good.
And if you don't, it's the simple high text.
Yeah. Sup.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you get the endorphin drop
here in about 5 more minutes.
Yeah. Well, but that contact from them, you know, and I've likened it to, I totally empathize now to what a heroin addict goes through, because it really, for me, it fed into that addiction side. It felt that way. But you finally have to just grab yourself by the bootstraps and say, this got to fucking stop. You know, it has to stop. And that's a good term. You have to set your guards high.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you are vulnerable.
Yes.
And I refuse to let myself be vulnerable because of, you know, some childhood shit that went on.
Right.
So yeah, you do. You have to set your guard high. But you know, if you don't, you let it down, next thing you know, you're right back in it again.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too for me is family history. I mean, I watched it growing up. And then to find out even further, my mother did as well. So when my grandpa had 2 daughters that were not his. Believe it or not, it was another fireman's.
Right. Okay.
So
you watched it and became a part of the pain.
Yeah.
That is infidelity. Mm-hmm. And I saw so many,
or the acceptance of it. Like, hey, it's okay.
That's what we do.
They did it.
it's normed.
It was norm. Yeah. Wow. It's not, but it is. It's the fact that hey, it's
just part of the trip.
Yep.
Dad's going to be dad, mom's going to be mom, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, I seen the way that my dad was during that time frame. He's the one that got kicked out of the house. Wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
That I know.
He was living his commitment.
Yep. And then to see the rest is just kind of.
Yeah. And so much. I could tell stories forever about the children I worked with who came in and told me their parents' marriage was in trouble. Mm-hmm. They were sometimes 7, 8 years old. And we'd be talking about, school, who are your friends, what do you do for fun, tell me about your mom and dad, and then they'd start to cry. And I'd be like, what's up? And like, mom and dad don't get along. They fight. I don't think they're going to make it. And usually they were right. And I remember telling a couple back, 35 years ago, that their 3 children had all told me that. And they were like, they looked at each other and agreed. Their kids were right. Their conflict had overwhelmed the intimacy in the marriage. And all the kids could see was what was essentially left in the relationship, which was bickering and constant conflict that meant nothing. It went nowhere. So yeah, kids become a part of all of that in one shape or one form or another. And what I hear all of you talking about, especially Jeff so poignantly about now, is the thing that's common in all of you stepping out of this pattern of behavior. First, tell me if I'm wrong, is self-awareness. You go in here and you're aware. I know this sounds so stupid, maybe, but I think everybody listening will understand this. That you go in here and you realize you feel like shit.
Yeah.
You feel awful for doing this.
Oh, absolutely.
And you don't like feeling awful.
We don't open that door. It says "Do not open," and it's got caution tape across it.
Dead inside, painted across.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong show.
And when you finally get to open it, and it's easier to close, but it's still hard to open. And you open it a little bit further, close it, open it a little further, and so
kind of like a text message.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Just
go.
a simple text message and your simple reply.
Yeah.
So cell phones can be the devil,
But it could be good too, though, because there's times I text Dr. Davey like, I need some wisdom. Just give me a sentence, and he needs to publish a desk calendar of this ancient.
I keep telling him, I just want him to do like daily inspirational,
right? And or text Donnie or you or whatever, and it's just that text message. That phone is a fucking nightmare with social medias and all that.
Right,
but it can save your life too.
Well, but it's like with us, and I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. Throw it out there. It's that every day I text these 2 guys. Good morning and something.
Sometimes it's
positive.
like fucking 5 a.m.
Right.
I'm like, Jesus Christ.
It's because I don't sleep. Right. Welcome to my PTSD. Yeah.
Should I be up?
Picks up the cell phone and texts us.
Hey, just played with myself. Hey, good morning.
Yeah. Been thinking of you guys.
Yeah, but I don't know about Donnie, but even when I'm not looking forward to it, I look forward to it, if that makes sense.
There you go.
It's
and then a couple of days go by. Donnie calls me. Hey, man, is everything all right? What do you mean? Well, I haven't heard from you in a couple of days. You good?
Yeah, Dick. You didn't text us.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just a little busy. Yeah. If I get teaching or we have like a late night then an early morning, and I'm in my mind, I'm setting my class up for the next day, and I, usually on the way to the track or whatever, I think of you guys and. Because you have that metaphor, life in the right lane.
That's right.
And it's almost like Donnie and I are waiting. We're like, "What the fuck's Mark waiting on?" And then, like, as soon as you say good morning, we're like, "Boom, boom, 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 good morning, good morning, good morning."
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock, and I haven't texted the boys yet. So, and now I got David in the group text. So
sorry, Dave.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to save people's lives here. Stop fucking bothering me. This stupid shit. Take me out of the group. But I can say that once you're in it. You come up to a fork in the road,
No matter
Okay,
how
so
long it takes.
am I going to stay with this person?
Yeah.
Or am I going to try and fix what I've started? And, loving that person in the mirror is the number one thing you need to do. And I can tell you during my affairs, more than one. Well, I had an affair with the same woman twice. So does that count as two or one? Two separate times.
Yes.
So we're going to count it as two. Yes, Donnie says.
It's kind of like a sequel.
Yeah, part two. Yeah, part two was.
And the sequels are never better than the original.
Actually, the sequel was better than the original. For me. The second part
In
was.
the name of the Father and the Son
In the Holy Spirit, amen.
Like, what movie was good? The second one. Oh,
Porky's.
Yeah, that's
It's always
good.
fun the
Good
second
point.
time you come.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
And that's why we're rated explicit. David's like, all right,
Who the
guys,
fuck are these
reel it in. Wrap it up. I totally forgot where we were talking about.
Well, the way to get out of it.
To get out of it, that's what it was. When I ended mine, my daughter actually caught us together. Yeah. She came home from school. She was she was in band, and they were doing a concert at the middle school. And instead of going back to the high school, she stopped by the house real quick, and whoops. Which sadly, it's caused her a lot of great pain.
Sure.
And,
Right.
I've suggested she go through an EMDR session to fix that. She was very adult about it, and she basically said, "Look, I know what you were doing up there, and I know what you were doing it with. Either you tell mom or I do. You decide which way this is going to go."
Yeah.
My 16-year-old kid's laying this out to me. So then you got to get ready with reality really quick.
Right.
And so my wife and I talked about it, and I ended it with her. And of course, you got this big thing. Well, you don't communicate for 6 months and blah, blah, blah. So I enacted that. And like Donnie said, you got to put your guard up high and let those emotions settle down. And for her and I, we worked together, so we had to maintain a work relationship. I would have hated for her to have to quit her job.
Right.
Because you have empathy there.
Right.
And eventually we were able to be able to work with one another and become friends again, which led to the second half. But
Yeah.
I had another affair in the middle of that with another woman. That's again started out, went there on a call and where she had worked at, and we do regular business checks, so you just kind of find yourself looking forward, to that one.
Same path.
Yeah. The past was the same, and that's when at that time at the second one I finally realized that's when I had my first suicide attempt.
Okay.
And I'm like, something's horribly wrong. And my good friend Brian Gray said, "Get your ass down here. We need to talk. I know a guy."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what started me seeing you.
Yeah.
And ended that one, worked on the marriage. By that time, we were at a different headspace with both of us.
Yeah.
And after that, we really got on a good path.
Right.
And that's where you took me into the life of EMDR and recovery and introduced me to what was wrong with me, which was I was suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome. I really remember the day I was sitting in your office. You're like, "So why don't you want to do EMDR?" And I said, "Why do you think I need it?" And he grabbed this notebook and he flipped. I mean, it's like the one he's got there. Only all the pages are written on. He was like the last page. He flips back to the front and he says, "Well, this was your first session with me." Boom, 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 boom. I went, "Oh my God!" And you're like, "Yeah, that's why you're suffering horribly." And he said, "You walk up to the doorstep, but you walk away." And I said, "Okay." So going through EMDR, that put me back on the path of recovery. But like we've talked about on the Shield Within before, every day is a recovery day.
Right.
Every day is a therapy day.
Right.
Mostly. Every day is a therapy day, not a recovery day. But if you are recovering, you have to work your therapy, and you have to work every day to stay on this, I don't want to say straight and narrow, but stay happy.
Stay committed to yourself.
Yes, thank you.
To me, it's about learning how to love yourself. And once you learn how to love yourself, you can then get really good at loving someone else.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And the rewards in loving yourself are that you get that in intimacy from loving others, which gives you what none of you had. It's that feeling of being loved and being valued. When you feel loved, when you feel valued, you live with your commitments. Mm-hmm. You stay with your commitments. When you don't feel valued, you don't feel loved, you end up finding yourself being tempted by these little comments and little suggestions and little communications that are kind of like a part of everyday work in the workplace in a kind of a way. But it's also about people wondering, they're not happy, not inside themselves, they don't feel loved, so they're kind of got their eyes open, the radar's on.
Well, you feel empty and cold.
Yeah.
You feel empty and cold, and when you start getting that little bit of attention from somewhere else, that sparks that.
Starts to fill that void.
Yeah, it does.
Exactly.
It does.
Exactly.
Can I say one last thing?
Please.
Sure, absolutely. Well, David's getting his thing right.
So, I just want to say that this, where I'm at in my life, even after retirement, it's a shit. My head's a shit. Everything's a shit.
Yeah.
And I told the therapist that I'm going to now, that you know, Mark, he asked to come. He said, "Hey, can you come and see me and let's talk for a few minutes?" Mm-hmm. And I'll do this real fast. And
it's all right.
I was so fucking scared, dude. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. What do I got to lose? I feel like I'm almost rock bottom. I'm going down those dark paths, dark holes that these guys are constantly getting me out of. And I'm like, fuck it. What do I have to lose? But I knew I was scared to death. And I have an office, and my second job is upstairs. And I was like, well, it's time to go. And I had a hard time walking down the stairs. My knees were shaking. I was scared to fucking death.
Yes.
I get into his office. I'm like, this guy's just going to blast me with a bunch of bullshit and whatever. And I told him, he goes, well, how do you feel right now? And I'm like, you really want to know? And he goes, yeah, that's open and honest here. And I'm like, okay. I've been in a lot of shit in my years. 30 years of law enforcement, a lot of terrible situations, death and guns out and some scary shit. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that was one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life.
Right, you have to face the man in the mirror.
Right, yeah. But I fucking did it.
Amen.
Yeah. I pulled up my big boy panties and I fucking, it was hard. Pants, I drove.
Right, pants.
I like to feel pretty. I like to feel pretty.
It's panties for yourself.
But I just want to tell anybody out there, if fucking Mr. Hat can do that, which was terrible, fucking terrible. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And within 2 minutes, I was like, okay, I'm where I should be. Yeah. And I don't like going to therapy. I get nervous. I get nervous even talking to you, David. It's like, oh, here's David. I gotta open myself up. It's scary. It's nervous.
Right.
But I'm telling you, if people out there need it, they should get it. Mm-hmm. Do it. It's gonna suck, mm-hmm. but I guarantee it's gonna be. As soon as you walk in that door, and a minute later, you're gonna be like, yeah. Then I feel pretty like, fuck yeah, I got one little victory today. I did something which was terrible.
Yeah.
It's like people say, make your bed every day, so you have one thing accomplished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I do that, and I fucking stand up and talk about therapy and shit like that, and it's worth it. So if anybody's out there, do it or call us. We'll help you do it, man.
Donnie,
cue the music.
May your days and nights find you strong and safe. May you take your place as your family's face. As you do the shit that we won't do, as you embrace the risk you must go through, may you grow in strength and heal and find your heart, your soul, and your mind. You look at your life and grin. You have a home, the shield within.